It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha. Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Brouhaha. Marshall Wood and Dale McKee. Dale, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm doing great. Beautiful Tuesday.
Man, you're always doing great. You're a do-great kind of guy.
Is today payday?
Yeah. See me after the show.
See me after the show.
See me after the show. I promise you I'm going to pay you twice what you're worth.
There you go.
Hey, look.
Yeah.
What if it was you?
What if it was me?
Yeah. What if you were Pat McAfee?
Who is that?
That's a good question.
I heard he getting a lot of criticism.
So you know who he is?
Well, I heard he getting a lot of criticism.
But who is he?
I really haven't. I don't even know him, really.
Yeah. What does he do for a living?
I know he's on that college football show, but I hardly ever listen to it. That's early on Saturday morning.
What?
I got things to do.
Oh.
I got to go to Hardee's and hang out.
You know, have you ever watched Game Day?
Yes, I watched it quite a bit over the years.
Do you enjoy the show? Have you ever seen him on it?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it's sometimes.
You like him or dislike him?
Well, I mean, I don't really dislike him, but
I don't like him. I think he's bad for the show.
There, at times, I'm thinking, won't you shut up?
Well, they took a poll.
Yeah.
And 49% of the people. I love that guy, don't you?
Jay Moore.
He's the best ever. 49% of the people say they don't like him. So he's thinking about leaving the show. Would you leave the show, Dale? If 49% of the people called in the Brouhaha and said they didn't like you, would you quit?
Let me ask you this.
With all this money you're making.
Let me ask you this. He needs to call a friend of mine, Paul Feinbaum.
Yeah.
And ask how Paul has made it over these years. People love to hate Paul.
Yeah.
Stay there, baby. Stay there, Pat.
You know what Paul's net worth is?
Probably more than ours.
Well, according to the internet, it's $2 million.
Is that all?
That's what I said.
Well,
I guarantee you, Pat McAfee probably makes more than that in a week.
Really?
Maybe. But anyway, I thought that when he came on, I started listening to that. I said, man, this just doesn't fit. And
that's what I say about the show. I agree with you. Yeah. He doesn't really fit on the show because you got people. You already got you already got somebody on the show to cause issues.
Yeah.
You don't really need him.
Yeah. Yeah. I was just wondering how you felt about that. I'm not really.
Now, is he one of Peyton Manning's big buddies?
I don't know if he is or not.
Well, didn't they play together or something?
Well, that's why he's a kicker. He was a kicker. That's why he did play with the Colts, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't think Peyton liked kickers, did he?
Oh, Peyton don't like anybody. Speaking of Mannings, looks like Arch may get a shot this week.
I guess too.
Whoever Texas is playing.
Why?
Quinn Ewers is out for 4 to 6 weeks, maybe out the rest of the year. They're going to play Murphy and Manning this week.
Well, they must have somebody they think they can just put somebody in that slot for a little bit.
Sark says that he's going to find what Malik does best and let him do that, and he's going to find out what Arch does best and let him do that.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works out. Big opportunity for the young Manning. He's been listed as number 3 all along. We'll see if he can't weasel his way on up that ladder to number 1. Bad for Texas when you had been out.
Yeah.
What about your sideline view, Dale? Ole Miss had a big win this week. State had a big win this week. Man.
Well, I think we'll hear more about the Ole Miss win with
let me back with our guests.
With our thing, but now, State probably got himself in a pretty good bowl situation. I say a bowl situation, but at least they can keep their consecutive 14-game, year running streak of bowls because they do have Southern Miss left. That could be win number 5.
Well, I'm a Southern Miss guy.
I said it could be. I said it could be.
Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you they're probably going to win that one.
But when you only score 7 points, I don't know. But listen, I watched a little bit of the Arkansas game. I really felt sorry for K.J. Jefferson, the quarterback for Arkansas. He was a second-team All-SEC quarterback last year. What have they done to that boy?
What a difference it makes.
He doesn't even look like the same kid.
Yeah. Well, he's mighty big.
Yeah, he's big, but still, I mean, I know they're missing some running backs and stuff like that, and that does hurt your offense. But that was not good. That was not good.
Let's back up. We're about out of time for this first segment. Tell us about our guest tonight. Who we got?
We got Creg Stephenson. He used to be at the Mississippi Press down in Pascagoula. He moved over to Mobile when a lot of these newspapers in Mississippi went away from their daily publications. And he's also working for, I believe it's Alabama Sports Media, which covers kind of the southern part of the state for him.
Yeah.
He covers a lot of South Alabama games, keeps up with Auburn, Alabama, Southern Miss, people like that, So he's going to fill us in about a lot of, hopefully he'll tell us a little bit about South Alabama, a little bit about Southern Miss, a little bit about the Auburn-Ole Miss game. Might even discuss the Alabama-Tennessee game.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well, let's take a break and come back to it.
Hey, that'd be great.
All righty, we're going to take a break to hear a message from our sponsor, and Dale and I'll be back with tonight's guest, Creg Stephenson, right after this commercial break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Creg Stephenson. How are you today, Creg?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on again. Always great to talk to people from my home state.
There you go.
Mississippi. I am from the Pascagoula area, as you guys probably know.
Yes, we kind of told the people where you're from, what you kind of had done in the past down at the Mississippi Press, and now where you are located now. Well, listen, let's just start off with some college football, okay? That's kind of what we want to talk about today.
All right.
Just tell us your thoughts last week about what happened in the Mobile massacre last Tuesday.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah, well, South Alabama's been hot. Obviously, they did very similar game to the one they had played the week before against Louisiana Monroe. But it really surprised me. I thought that based on what I saw late in the year last year, that Southern Miss was kind of headed in the right direction. I know they had struggled some this year, but I really didn't expect it to be a complete blowout like that. And man, I don't know what's going on up there in Hattiesburg. It really troubles me. I really like Will Hall a lot. I think a lot of him know his dad, and of course he covered Will as a player, and I've known him for a long time. And I'm really kind of puzzled. I don't know if that's a word. At the way things have gone, I saw where he gave up. Just said the day or two after the game that he was going to give up play calling, and maybe that'll help. But man, it just seems like they're in a bad way. I was just shocked that they are as poor as they are. South Alabama's a good team, but they don't need to be beating Southern Miss 55-3. That really surprised me, but they did. They dominated. I mean, they just did everything they wanted to do for about the first, 3.5 quarters, and they put the subs in. And but man, it was just a blowout from play one of the game.
Let me ask you. So I'm a Southern Miss fan. Grew up watching. Went to school there. And I've watched this South Alabama thing over the past, say, I don't know, you could quantify it better than 5 to 10 years. They've really been improving in their football situation and the recruiting in those Mobile and in the Panhandle, and that's really worked on Southern Mississippi. You agree?
Yeah, I think there's probably some truth to that. When Southern Miss has always had a big presence in Mobile over the years, and some of the great players from Southern Miss, from years past, Hanford Dixon, Jeff Kelly, were Mobile area guys. And when South Alabama started the program, I think that definitely cut into Southern Miss's territory. But still, I mean, the fact that it was 55-3, I don't think it had that much effect on it. Southern Miss is still able to recruit Louisiana and the junior college, parts of the region, but it certainly didn't help Southern Miss when South Alabama started their program. But there's enough players to go around, especially now with the transfer portal and all that sort of thing. I think that it's really no excuse to get hammered like that.
Well, what did you? How is South Alabama like using the JUCO Mississippian? Because they seem like they've got a few. I know on the roster, a lot of Gulf Coast, Jones players, people like that. About how many JUCOs does Coach Womack bring in every year?
They had some in the past. They have a few still on the roster, but that was more of a thing when Steve Campbell was here. When the transfer portal got put in, they have gone more 4-year guys. They do have a couple of junior college guys, obviously, with Damian Webb being the prime one who came out of Jones. Actually, was at Jones 2 different times and then went to Florida State in between. But he's a guy from the state of Alabama, so but he definitely is a product of that Mississippi JUCO ranks. They have a couple other guys, but mainly they have recruited the Mississippi high schools pretty well. Ricky Fletcher, who's probably their best cornerback, is from I think Holmes County. They have a few others. They have some guys on the staff that have ties to Mississippi, including Wama, who obviously coached in Mississippi for a while and is a Southern Miss graduate. The linebackers coach, Wes Wyndham, is a Mississippi State guy who coached in the high school ranks there. Dwight Wilson, who actually left South Alabama for Southern Miss, was kind of their main JUCO guy, so he's no longer on the staff. Then, of course, they have Jay Hobson, who has all kinds of ties to the state of Mississippi, who is former Southern Miss head coach. So they definitely consider that part of their recruiting base. I think that pretty much any school is going to say, if you can get to our school within a 5-hour drive or so, we're going to recruit you. So South Alabama, if you kind of draw that radius, you're going from, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, around through Mississippi and into the Florida Panhandle. So.
Okay. Well, listen, how do you think South Alabama's, now their records just doesn't stick out at you. What are they, like 4-3?
4-3, yeah. The one game that you would like to have back is Central Michigan, where they led pretty much the whole game and gave up a touchdown right at the end and lost 34-30. I think if you reverse that one, they're probably about where they need to be. Tulane and Old Dominion, James Madison are their two other losses. Those teams are better than they are right now. But everybody else they pretty well handled. I think going down the stretch, you got 4 of your last 5 are against teams with winning records. They play Louisiana, Raging Cajuns this week, which will be a good test for them to see really where they are. Because to be honest with you, it's easy to get excited when you beat ULM and Southern Miss 110-10, but those are the 2 worst teams in the Sun Belt. So I think if you can go out and really put a good game on the field this week against Louisiana, you got to like your chances. But that key game is going to be Thursday, November 2nd up at Troy. That's going to tell the tale of the season just like it did last year. Troy came down here and won 10-6, and they ended up winning the West and won the conference. And if South Alabama wins that one, they're probably in that same spot. So that's going to be what decides it, I think. Texas State is another improved team. They play them the final week of the season, but really, that Troy game is really what matters.
All right, well, let's go up a little bit. I guess northeast up there to the Plains. What'd you think about the Auburn Ole Miss game Saturday night?
Yeah, well, the result, the score, I think was closer than the game was, if that makes sense. Yes, Ole Miss turned the ball over a couple of times, but I thought they really controlled the action. I think if you're Auburn, it's a little disheartening that they're not better on offense. I think that, Freeze's reputation is such that, he's going to put a good product on the field offensively. He did it almost immediately at Ole Miss. He did it at Liberty. He did it at Arkansas State. So you kind of figured that's what that what would happen at Auburn. They would get better as the season went along offensively, but it really hasn't happened. Obviously, Lane Kiffin had his flirtation with Auburn last year. I don't know how close that ever got to happening. My personal theory is that Kiffin really wants the Alabama job, and he knows if he went to Auburn, he could never get the Alabama job, so he didn't take it. I'm not saying he's going to get the Alabama job. I'm just saying that's the job that he wants. But anyway, so obviously that, to beat Freeze was probably big for the Ole Miss people. But, kind of a disheartening situation for Auburn, although their next 3 games are Mississippi State, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt. So you think if they're going to get it turned around, this would be the time to start.
All right. Now they are, their record is 3-4 or 4-3?
They're 3-4, and they are 0-4 in the SEC. Them, Arkansas, and Vanderbilt, none have no SEC wins between them this year.
Well, listen, I'm just going to ask you one thing about Arkansas. I was discussing with Marshall on our little preview show before you came on as our guest. What has happened to KJ Jefferson? He was one of the better quarterbacks in the SEC. Can you figure anything out about that?
It's a good question. I mean, maybe he's beaten up a little bit. Maybe he doesn't have a ton of help. Obviously, their all SEC running back Rock Sanders got hurt, and that has put more on KJ Jefferson. They fired their offensive coordinator and quarterback coach, so obviously they felt that they weren't getting what they needed there. I think that Sam Pittman might be in trouble. That's an interesting job to watch for a lot of reasons, one of which is that Kane Womack is a graduate of Fayetteville High School and began his college playing career at Arkansas. So I think if Pittman gets fired, it's possible. Womack is a candidate there, along with some other names. I'm sure Gus Malzahn's name will come up. But that's worth watching. But I think that there's really not much hope for Pittman to turn this thing around.
Okay, well, let's. So now, Ole Miss. Watching the game a lot of time, there was a lot of frustrating moments in there around the second and third quarter for both offenses. I think each of them had a ball about 4 times and ended up having a punt or had a turnover or something like that. Did it seem like Kiffin was actually dependent on his defense some? Am I wrong about that? Is Skip Golden changed?
I mean, what's the world coming to? Right? Yeah, it is surprising. But, at some point you're going to have to play good defense to win if you want to win big in the SEC. And, they've got an interesting setup for Ole Miss because they still got Georgia on their schedule. And Georgia looks a little shaky without Brock Bowers. If Ole Miss keeps winning, if they are somehow able, even if they don't win the West, even if Alabama wins out, they don't win the West. If they go into Athens and upset Georgia, man, you can start thinking of Ole Miss as a possible playoff team. I mean, they really are in a good spot. I'm not sure they're quite that good, but stranger things have happened. They're in a good position because they've already beaten LSU.
Okay, all right. Let's go to Tuscaloosa for a minute. Alabama goes off the field at halftime, and they're down a couple touchdowns. And what happens? They got it figured out defensively. I think Tennessee upset them a little bit with the tempo. I think Jalen Milroe started playing good football as the quarterback. He's kind of a feast or famine guy. They've had such a great run of quarterbacks the last few years: Tua Tagovailoa, Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young, Mac Jones, all those first-round NFL draft picks or second-round NFL draft picks. He's not that, but I think you can win with him if you let him do what he can do, which is he can throw the deep ball as good as anybody, and he can really run. And if you can, get some design quarterback runs going for him and, hit some of those deep passes, I think you got a chance to win. If you guys remember, I'm sure you guys remember the quarterback at Auburn a few years ago, Nick Marshall. He reminds me a lot of him. He's just a great athlete with a great arm. Not the prototypical quarterback in a lot of ways, but you can win big if he makes the big plays. And defensively, Alabama's legitimately excellent. I mean, it's one of the best defenses in the country, especially at getting to the quarterback. And I think they started to do that a little bit in Tennessee and really disrupted them. But it was a pretty impressive comeback. You haven't seen that many big comebacks under Saban. They haven't really needed that many comebacks. But to be down 2 touchdowns going into halftime and to come out and just dominate the second half was really impressive. They really did. They weren't down as big, but they really did very similar when they played Ole Miss. I mean, they just totally controlled the second half. And if you're gonna control one half, I guess the second one's the one you do it. And they've done a really good job. I thought early in the season, after the Texas and South Florida games, this may be the time for Alabama to take a step back. But it looks like they're kind of hitting their stride here. And that game against LSU November 4th obviously is going to be a big one. LSU can really score, and Alabama's going to have to be at the top of their game offensively to keep up. All right, I'm going to ask you one other SEC question. What is Texas A&M going to do about their Jimbo Fisher? Are they going to keep him?
I don't see how. I mean, that's a lot of money. It really is, but where are you now? I mean, you're the fifth best team in the SEC West, fourth best team, or whatever it is. And you're paying the guy to win a national championship, and he hadn't getting it done. He's not getting it done. They've got a really good defense, but they brought in Bobby Petrino to kind of fix the offense, and that has not happened. I just, their quarterback did get hurt So maybe you can give him a break on that. But, you know, they're recruiting at a really high level. They're just not winning games. I mean, that game at Tennessee a couple weeks ago was a perfect example. Talent-wise, they should go in there and win that game. But they let Tennessee take the fight to them. And it's been one of the most, biggest underachievements of any major program in the last few years. You know, will they get the money up and buy him out? Yeah, it's possible. I guess it kind of depends on, Texas A&M, it always kind of depends on the price of oil. So, the money is definitely there if things break right. But, I don't foresee, he maybe they give him one more year, but I don't think Jimbo Fisher, without a major turnaround, will be the head coach in 2025.
Well, can they afford to give him one more year with Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league?
That's a very good point. Yeah, you don't want to fall even farther back. I didn't think about that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, can you afford to fire him or can you afford not to fire him? I guess is the question. Yeah, it's a lot of money. It's not my money. I mean, but you just gotta, suck it up and do it. I guess because I don't see how he's going to be able to get it turned around. It just doesn't. There's no reason to believe that they will.
All right, I've got a question for you. Outside the SEC.
Yeah.
Is Jim Harbaugh going to be coaching at Michigan next year?
He's going to be coaching at Michigan next week. No, I'm kidding.
He's going to win a national championship, I bet you.
Yeah. The joke I made was that, that guy Connor Stallions is the guy that's kind of been involved in all this, went and bought all those tickets to a bunch of other games. And I was like, well, maybe it was some other guy named Connor Stallions. No, there's nobody else named Connor Stallions. But anyway, with Harbaugh, I think that the NCAA, for whatever reason, is kind of out to get him. I'm not saying unfairly. I'm just saying that they are going to keep going until they drive him out of college football. And I think he'll be in the NFL next year. It kind of depends on what jobs come open. The Los Angeles Chargers, who wouldn't want to go to Southern California and be able to coach Justin Herbert? I mean, I think that would be a good move for him. He almost jumped at the Minnesota Vikings job a couple of years ago, and I think that he's going to wind up back in the NFL. And, this may be the thing that makes it happen. Kind of like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll seemed like he had it rolling pretty good at Southern Cal, but then the NCAA came around and he said, well, forget about this. I'm going to the NFL. He's made a pretty good career, a second career in the NFL.
Worked out pretty good. Listen, Greg, this is Marshall, and I got to tell you, we're out of time, and we really appreciate you spending time with us and bringing what you bring to the show. It's a real treat. Thank you very much.
All right, great, man. I always enjoy it. Call me anytime. Okay,
thank you for being with us. Right now, Dale and I are going to take a break here from a sponsor and be back with the final segment of tonight's Brouhaha right after this commercial.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back. I tell you what, it's always good talking to Greg. We always enjoy what he brings to the Brouhaha table. But I just want to tell you, this is down to me and you now, Dale, and I want to say I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I made a statement, and I'm backing up on it.
What? What's your statement?
I had thought when Lincoln Riley went to Southern Cal that I was really concerned that they were going to be really good. Yeah. But you know what? It's not working out so good. And I found an article, he missed his radio show this week.
Why?
He didn't go. They don't know. Rumors of an NFL departure.
Okay.
Rumors of an NFL departure.
Why would the NFL hire him?
Well, I don't know.
He can't win at USC, man. I mean, that's like an NFL minor league club.
It really is. And many, had predicted this collapse. I didn't at Notre Dame. And they've lost back-to-back games, and the Utah beat them and Notre Dame beat them, and now he's not showing up for his radio shows. What is that? What would you think, Dale?
I would think he's very depressed.
Very depressed?
Or he's been told, why don't you coach football and quit doing other things? I mean, I don't really know. But, I saw interesting is that, the coach before him, I can't think of his name right off, but he was from the South, he's got the same record as Lincoln did after this many games.
Yeah.
And the guy that used to be the coach at A&M.
Oh, yeah. He's got a better record than Jimbo.
And then I was seeing somewhere else that somebody else has got a better record than somebody's been paying $10 million a year. But, you know, I'm asking you about the Michigan situation. If somebody's stealing your signs, why don't you change your signs? They do that in baseball.
Or change the person giving them. I mean, you have a bunch of people giving signs.
I mean, if you ain't giving signs, are you even trying to win?
I mean,
if you ain't trying to steal signs, you ain't trying to win.
I
mean, in baseball, you're trying to find out what pitch is coming there. Okay.
Well, you know, it's not like a secret because if you watch these coaches on the sideline, they all cover their mouths when they speak because people are reading their lips. I mean, where do you draw the line? How do you police that? I mean, just play ball, man.
I mean, I don't know what the big problem is.
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm gonna tell you what, Michigan don't want to let that cat go. Think of what they had before him. Mm-hmm. Think about all the crap they went through with all them coaches. They would hire one 3 or 4 years. Oh, we gotta get rid of him. We can't beat Ohio State. Now you got somebody to beat Ohio State twice.
I tell you what, I think they may be the best team in football this year.
Well, defensively, I ain't seen much better. Of course, now I don't know much about the offenses in the Big Ten. But, But I'm going to say that Penn State's offense looked pitiful against Ohio State. So anyway,
I wanted to talk to you about for us to make our before the CFP polls come out. I want to talk to you about who we thought was going to be in the playoffs. We'll do that next week. We'll get into that a little deeper next week. We really don't have much time right now.
Well, I think that Ole Miss and State have a chance, don't you?
To get in what?
The playoffs?
Don't think so.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Well, then we disagree.
Okay, well that's okay.
Oh, okay.
So you would say Mississippi State's going to the CFP this year? I think you're crazy. Ole Miss could beat Georgia.
Well, you know what?
Ole Miss could beat Georgia.
You're probably not the first one that's ever made that statement. But you're the first one that's ever made it in public radio.
Well, you know it takes crazy to know crazy.
That's true.
But I forgot what I was going to say, but let me do it this way. Dale, it's about time for us to go. We want to thank everybody for joining us. We appreciate our guest, Greg, tonight. Y'all keep up with us on Facebook at the Brouhaha, and also you can follow us on our YouTube channel. That's right, the Brouhaha, where you can listen to our shows at your convenience. This time has come, though, where you're giving me all kinds of signals up there, showing me clocks and everything. What time is it, Dale? Is it time to say goodbye?
It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale. We'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.